Want a real vibes only, unfiltered take on just about anything and everything? Entrepreneur, best-selling author, speaker, and busy mom, Chelsea Husum shares her unapologetic views about life, business, and this beautifully imperfect hot mess world we face each and every day with lip service and lashes. Now here's your host, Chelsea Husum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Lip Service and Lashes podcast with Chelsea Husum. I am so excited today to have my girlfriend, Erica Rothenberger, here with me. Erica, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, I love that I'm here, and I love that we're finally doing this.
I know. Well, and so you guys, Erica is a powerhouse. She is a true multi-passionate entrepreneur. She oversees a massive team for a large corporate construction company. So she's a fellow woman in construction. Love it. She is a global wellness leader, a keynote speaker, a podcast host, and an author. She's a devoted mama and wife. Erica is a dreamer, a firecracker, and is full of energy, as you will tell, grit, and determination. She's been through hell and back and is a true inspiration to any who hear her story. She's a dear friend, and I'm so grateful to be able to cheer her on, and you inspire me each and every day, girl. So thank you for being here.
Oh, my goodness. I think I should just press record and replay that for myself every morning. Thank you. Talk about being fired up. And right back at you, watching all your inspiration, Chelsea. You're just amazing. I love everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much, sweetie. Okay, so we're just going to jump right in because we have stuff to go do today. We're like fitting this in. First off, I would love to hear your thoughts personally because, and I'm told this, so I'm going to assume you are too. Are you ever told that you're doing too much? And how do you handle that?
This is such a good question. I'm so glad I've never been asked this question on a podcast, but it's a question I talk about all the time. I have a keynote actually called The Audacity to Have It All. And sometimes people are like, I don't want it all. But there's other people who I say, because Erica, you always have so much going on. Like 1 minute you're wearing a hard hat. The next minute you're at the baseball field wearing a baseball hat. The next minute,
Yep.
You know what I mean? You have your podcast earphones on. And, I always say, listen, when you're doing things that you're truly passionate about and that are vibing with your energy, having it all doesn't feel like heavy. It feels exciting. Like, wow, I can wear all those different hats. But sometimes having it all also means saying no to some things that aren't serving you. And what I've recognized is as I have what seems like a lot or abundance on my plate, I don't use the word busy anymore. I say it's abundant. There's a lot going on because we are so blessed. And I have the choice to say yes or no to things. So I think, yes, I get asked that question and it gets me a little cringy. And I'm like, I get the choice to be this. It may not be your choice, and that's okay.
Yes.
Or I always say, if you're asking that question, is it because you're looking for something more? Because normally that's a reflection back on yourself saying, hey, I'm missing something, and I see maybe something that she's doing, whether it's me or someone else, that maybe I need to lean into that a little or do a little self-reflection. And the other thing I always say is, listen, there's no perfect balance. Right? It's integration, right? My kids are sometimes involved with my wellness business and other times they're on the road with me and other times I'm like, hey, mom's out of town for a few days. And,
they're going to be fine. Exactly. Yes.
Darwin's
I love that.
Theory, survival of the fittest, right?
Yes. I love that. I've never thought, it does make me cringy too. And I've never thought of that, of like turning it back around. Like, what are they thinking to project that question onto us? And it is, I totally agree. When you're doing things that you freaking love, you're energized. It's like, I feel more and more every year, every day I step into life, right? We're both doing things that energize us. So I love that. I knew you'd get that question
too. What I always say too, when someone is like sarcastic or like may say something about you that seems like, kind of below the belt, it's usually a reflection of themselves. So it's usually something that we're missing. And we're guilty of doing it sometimes too. Like if we look at someone that's doing more than us, Chelsea, I know you and I do a lot. It's usually because we're like, wait, we could do that too. Or maybe it's something that we need to be realigned with. So I try to take the same advice and put it on my shoulders too.
I love that. I love that. All right. Because we don't have a lot of time, I'm just jumping right in, girl. And I love you, your audacity, your realness, and just to go there and be vulnerable. So I know you've been through a very horrific assault, and if you're open to it, I would like you to share kind of what happened to you and how since then you have taken that and just thrived in life.
Right. Thank you for asking this question. And absolutely something that now I share a lot about. And I believe that our setbacks are our setups for everything in life.
Yes.
And I always say, listen, our predicament isn't where we're supposed to necessarily end up in life, or those setbacks isn't where we're supposed to stay. And so I'll rewind 2.5 years ago on June 16th of 2022. I was going to work normal day, right? I had my bright pink blazer on. I was ready to rock out that meeting. Husband was in Kansas City. Kids were with the sitter 2 days out of school because it was summer vacation. And literally I'll remember going to a networking meeting and having coffee. And I actually pushed back my 10 o'clock appointment to 10:15, left a note for my kids to the babysitter, telling them to have the most wonderful day, drove to work the exact same way, pulled into that parking space, took that last sip of lemon water. And as I'm sitting there gathering my things, go to open my car door, the last 5 words I said was, "Sir, can I help you?" And what I didn't know is this man had assaulted 4 women the night before, had raped a woman that morning, had gotten on a public transportation, got off in my office building, and basically was looking to escape. As I said those words, or as the words actually muttered out of my mouth, within seconds, he punched me straight in the nose. He grabbed me by the hair. He threw me to the asphalt pavement. He really beat the living shit out of me. Yeah. I screamed, I hollered, the blood, saliva, the tears running down my face, just thinking this was my last moment on earth and what to do. And I will never forget what seemed like days was the crease of his elbow coming under my throat to strangle me. And knowing at that moment, that may be my last second to be a mom on earth, to be a wife, to be a friend. And I couldn't imagine that life was supposed to end that way. And I just had faith that it wasn't supposed to. Long story short, I completely passed out. Unbeknownst to me, all these bright lights and everything just kind of started coming to me, and I was able to luckily get on my feet again by the universe, by God. I truly believe it didn't happen to me. It happened, for me to be able to go and use this. And I ran for help. I ran into that office building, had no idea if he would chase me, if he had a gun, if he was what was happening. He was in my car trying to escape. And when he saw me get up, he ran by foot. I ran into the office building and screamed bloody murder, getting help. Long story short, the next 48 hours were an utter blur. I mean, detectives, police reports, rushing to hospital, just doctors, everything you can imagine. He actually escaped and started burying himself locally to our office, and the dogs and the drones found him. The whole moral of the story is as horrific as this sounds, you might be listening to this being like, what the heck? So much good has come from this situation. And some of you may be saying, how could this be good? Although my trial is still open, he is actually taking me to court. I've been to court with him 6 different times. He's still taking me to court. He wants to have a jury trial, even though he claimed that he was guilty. He's now reneging on that. And 2.5 years later, I'm still dealing with all the aftermath. At the end of the day, such a light has come from me. And one of the first things I was able to do, Chelsea, was forgive him, right? Because I knew I couldn't move on
huge.
myself until I could forgive what happened. Not necessarily what he did, but that what was his past or what had happened. And the past 2.5 years have brought me so much light and so much opportunity to go out and share this story and to truly make a difference in the lives of others. And sometimes we have to take our tragedy and turn it into triumph. And that's really what I've been trying to do with this. And hence Audacity to Be Resilient was born.
Yes. And honestly, like, I'm just so proud of you. Like, what a horrific experience. But like, so many people could have taken that situation and completely changed their life for the worse. You said, no, I'm a fighter. You've just lit up since then. And you know what I mean? You did make it through. Thank God. It gives me chills listening to you, talk about it. But I just watched you the last, we've known each other, gosh, probably 1.5 years, and you are just out sharing your story, killing it, spreading light, just this energy that is just palpable. And I'm just so proud of you. And I will say, I was in a lawsuit for 2.5 years, just the lawsuit part, obviously, not the other part of that. But like, I get that too is a separate thing. And I know each time you go, you're hoping for maybe some closure. You're hoping, right? It's hard.
It is hard.
With it that long.
Yeah, it is hard. And yet at the same time, I'm like, it's the door's supposed to close when it closes. And when it does, True. It will be the way it's supposed to be. And it, again, is as hard as it is to believe that some days, like when you're sitting in the courtroom and you're like, this is the day. And then all of a sudden he doesn't have to show up or something else happens. It is frustrating. And yet at the same time, I'm like, with due time, justice will be served and what needs to happen will happen. And in the meantime, using this story as part of my therapy, right? To get out there. It's been a big part of my therapy to get out there and share and know that, hey, listen, the people that I've heard from, because I've been willing to be vulnerable and share this, has been remarkable. And the other thing I do want to note too, is that anyone listening to this, anyone you share this with, we all have punches. And your punch is not the same as mine. And I'm not trying to say you've been assaulted, but let's say you've been through a bitter divorce. You have had a child that's been, sick. You've lost a parent. Everyone has their punches in life. So let's just try to even the playing field and be like, you know what? No one's punch is worse or better. It's just, we've all been through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've all been through adversity, and that's life. Right. And the whole point is to work through it and come out better on the other side and stronger. Right.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Okay. Another thing I know about you is like, you are a go-getter, and I would love to tell people, what are your health non-negotiables and your habits that help you thrive while you're juggling everything? And tell me the time. Tell us the time, because I used to wake up early, and I know people are like, what?
Okay, so I'm a super early morning person, and I usually have high energy throughout most of my day. I will say 3 p.m. is my lowest energy time. So if you want to be really unproductive with me, that's the time to call me. But 3:45 a.m. is my high time, meaning I typically am up between 3:30 and 3:45, when my feet hit the ground and start quote unquote running. And there's a couple things that I will make sure they're non-negotiable every day. And I'll say really between then and 7 a.m., it's making sure I get movement in. Typically it's going to the gym, leaving for the gym between 4:30 and 4:45. But that first hour of the day, really defending that time for me between 3:45 and 4:45. And to me, remember, if you're listening to this, that may be 7, 8 o'clock for you. And that may be 7, 8 o'clock at night. It's your schedule. I'm not trying to say that it has to be at that time. I will say doing it first thing in the morning is where to start. And I really start my day with gratitude. What I'm grateful for, all of the things that have come into my life. I journal every single morning. Sometimes it's a paragraph, sometimes it's 3 pages, right? And then I have 4 books that I use every morning. If anyone watches my Instagram story, you'll see that I take a picture of them to hold myself accountable. two spiritual books and 2 books that are more leadership. And they're just quick passages, but just reminding myself to ground myself every day with those. And it's become really a habit. It's like brushing my teeth in the morning. And then, I always start my day. I'm a big fan of wellness with an adaptogen, which helps me with stress, a nootropic, which helps me with focus, and a collagen that helps me with my gut health, and make sure that I'm really being consistent with protein throughout the day, but especially, first thing in the morning. So I always say the way that you start the day is the way that you're going to end the day. Fuel your body, fuel your mind, fuel your soul, and make sure you get some sort of movement in. It doesn't mean you have to go to a gym or do a heavy workout, but get some sort of movement, and it's incredible what it will do to your body.
I love that. I, back in the day, used to get up at 4:30 and do all that as well. And people would be like, "You're crazy, girl." And I honestly would be like, I feel better than I ever have when I get up now at 5:30, but I love those early mornings before anybody else has woken up. It's just, there's something so peaceful about it, right? It's magical.
It's like sacred time. It really is.
Yeah, totally.
So I would just challenge any of your guests that are listening, just get up 15 minutes earlier. Literally, January 1st is around the corner, or maybe we're listening to this after January 1st, whatever it is, and maybe you haven't done it yet, put it into play and just be like, I'm just going to give myself 15 minutes. And I promise you, it will start to make a drastic difference in your day. Just have that extra defensive time.
Yes, I totally agree. Okay, let's see. I have so many questions for you. How do you prioritize your quality time with your husband and kids? And do you ever feel mom guilt?
Oh.
Which I know is a yes, but we all do.
Every single day, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, let's face it. And I don't want to call it guilt, but I would say, mom integrate. I'll go back to integration, right? Where I'm like, listen, how can I still involve them? And I always go back to quality versus quantity, right? What type of time? And someone said it to me the other day. They said, take 20, one of the best pieces of advice they've ever gotten. And I actually did, a reel on this the other day, was take 20 minutes with your kids each day and make it super quality and all about them, not reading to them because they have to for school, not working on an assignment, not driving in the car to go to a game, just 20 minutes of something that they want to do, right? Maybe it's coloring in the afternoon. Maybe it's, for my son, it's working out every once in a while with me in the morning, right? Just something that will really invest with them. So yes, do I feel that way? Absolutely. At the same time, I always say, what are they learning when I'm not there? To be reliant, to get their own snacks, to pack their own lunch, to do all those type of things. So what are those life skills that they're learning? And I don't think that they ever question how much I love them. And I don't think there's hey, they spent more time, so it's equated to love. And then I think with my husband, I think it's really important that we're defending time. And it's not a lot of time anymore. But devoted time, weekly or monthly on the calendar, that it's just the two of you doing something together, and it could be literally it doesn't have to be some big elaborate date, right? It could be my husband and I really have been committed to walking Saturdays or Sundays, 5 miles. We live on a golf course and we walk the entire course. And it's one of my favorite times for us to catch up, right? And just connect. So yes, it's not perfect. It's messy. There's weeks that I feel completely off balance with it. But I want to remind us that all in all, if you can be that common thread, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. And my mom always said, life's like a triangle, right? First is you and your health. Because if you're not healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, you're no good to your family, because your family comes next. And then comes your career, your passion, your entrepreneurship, your job. And the triangle is going to fall over sometimes. And sometimes you're going to give more to work than you are to the other two. But all in all, if you can keep that triangle standing up that way and support it that way, it will make all the difference in your life. So I always try to keep that in perspective when I feel kind of out of sorts with it.
I love that. It is. There's ebbs and flows of life where one thing kind of needs your attention more, but it is just being cognizant of it and trying your best. But I will say, I know how much I see your posts on social media and all the amazing things you do with your kids, but they're also watching a strong, badass mom who is you are showing them what a strong, smart, successful woman is, right? And so the value of that, when you're maybe not there, you're on a trip or whatever, like that, it's, so powerful to watch. So keep doing it.
And they're watching. They're watching every move we make, everything we do. And you know what? Like, I want to bring up resilient kids. I want to bring up grounded kids. I want to bring up kind kids. And that's the actions that I'm showing them, whether it's directly to them or someone else I'm on the phone with, or maybe even my hustle. I also want to teach my kids work ethic, right? When they see them working, they know, like, hey, listen, this stuff doesn't just come easy. You know that also well.
Yeah, exactly. And you're hopefully inspiring them to go out and do whatever it is they're going to do in the world, and show them whatever you want to do, you can do it. Especially we're like multifaceted for sure. We're very similar, and we're working together a lot in this next year because we're both in construction. We're both speakers, podcasters, all authors, all these things. And so I love that. And you have to just link arms with other people that are doing that with you. And like we said, like, keep each other accountable.
Yes. And so I want you, every time you start using the word guilt, I want you to just change that word and not use the word, because you shouldn't have to feel guilty about it, right?
No,
like,
it's so true.
And if you feel the pang of guilt, say, okay, where do I need to recalibrate? Right?
Exactly.
So, mom recalibration, I always say, right? Like, just like we have to recalibrate the washer machine and the this and the that and the lawnmower. You don't even know if you want a lawnmower, but if you do, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need to recalibrate, and that's okay. And so most of the time, it's just some fine tuning.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, then I love the 20 minutes, be very intentional about, okay, what's really special that we can go do that they'll remember. So I love that. So thank you for sharing.
And the last thing that I'll just add into, Chelsea, is have that group of other females who are operating maybe at your level of like whatever you're doing, whether, you know what I mean? Like, I know even for yourself, like you and I like operated a very similar like stratosphere, right? And so I know I could come to you and say, hey, listen, I'm really feeling this way. And knowing that I can have a true sounding board, not someone that's going to necessarily tell me what to do or give me the advice, or and maybe you will, but at the same time, but just let me bitch and complain and be I'm dealing with all this stuff right now and I don't know exactly what to do, and being like, hold on. And you did this for me the other day. We talked over the weekend. I was like feeling like I'm behind on some of my goals for 2024, and you literally gave me the idea. You're like, I wrote down all of the things I did accomplish versus worrying about all the little things that you didn't accomplish.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe some of those things even changed. And as I started writing it down, I was like, damn, I actually did more than I thought. And it was because of you. If I hadn't had a conversation with you, I'd probably still be in a little bit of a tizzy being like, oh, I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to. So again, I think it's having people like yourself who are those sounding boards, who will give you advice, who will say, hey, try this. And it may not always work, but at least that they share similar shoes to you.
For sure. And it's having women or men, whoever, people that you trust, that you can be completely honest with and say, hey, I'm in a funk, or hey, I feel like this, I'm holding myself back, or whatever. And just to have that space, whatever we need, if it's positive, negative, if it's in the middle, and just not feel bad about it, but just have that support and someone to listen is so amazing. Okay. So with that, because I did that, and yes, I was like, damn, okay, I did some cool stuff this year. And I was like, then when you said that, I'm like, well, this was kind of neat when you actually have to sit and think about it. And you're like, okay, I really did more even than I thought. But with your goal, you've grown so much in the last year, and I'm so freaking proud of you. You made a goal to speak. I'll let you tell the exact number. I think it was 10, maybe 6. I don't remember. It was lower, but you made a goal to speak as a paid speaker at this X amount of events. And then you did 18. Like, what the hell? You're amazing. You blew the freaking goal out of the water. So how did you stay laser focused during that?
I wrote it. And I always say, listen, when you write down a goal, you're 43% more likely to make it happen. And when you tell someone, you're 78% more likely to make it happen. So I just kept telling everyone, I'm going to have 10 speaking events in 2024. I had no idea how I was going to get them, where I was going to figure it out, how it was all going to come to fruition. But I had this burning desire and this belief. And I'm like, all right, I just declared it to the world, right?
Yep.
I got to go figure out how to make it happen. And sometimes we do it in reverse order. We reverse engineer it. We try to figure out all the how instead of just doing the do. And in some cases, you got to figure out the how. But I would say the majority of the time, it's just starting to do it. Whatever that doing is, whether you're a speaker or not, just starting to like get into the habit of trying it. And I just told people, I asked for referrals. I put myself out there. I acted like I was like a Mel Robbins when I was like this, like speaking in front of like 22 people. I'm like, yeah.
And I love that. Like you have to get in that mindset, right?
Yes.
Well, and I asked you then the other day, I was like, hey, can I see one of your keynotes? Because this is a mental thing that I deal with. I've spoken a ton for free, happily do it, but now I do want to go more nationally and I want to be a paid speaker. And when you talk to people, they're like, you should start at like $5,000, and then obviously going up. But I have this weird mental block of like, I'm not worth that. And I know I am. Okay. But it's so weird to me when you're just, I think, starting out to be like, oh my God, when someone pays me 10 grand, 20 grand someday, like it's like a weird, yes, I'm going to give them value, but that's a lot of money, right? It's a weird mental funk that I'm in that I was like, girl, can I see your speech so I can give myself permission?
I know I still owe it to you.
Oh, you're fine. But like to give myself permission to be like, you can do that and you are worth it. Like, yeah, you'll start out a little less, but you will be getting paid that someday, right?
Yes. And I love that. I love like just making sure, like being so real. And so like my first speaking gig, and I still have the check on my vision board, was for $500.
Yeah.
Right?
My first paid was that as well.
And you know what I did last year when I did my vision board at the end of 2023 is I crossed it out and I wrote 5,000 on it.
Oh, I love that.
I looked at it every day and I was like, I can't wait to get that check in the mail.
And now you've made past that.
And this year I'm going to add a 1 in front of it.
Hell yeah.
Right? And so I think you just have to like know that it's destined to happen and that believe that it can happen. But to your point, we can all have that blockage, right? Like, but I think the more you speak it into being, so when I said I journal every morning, I am a $10,000 keynote speaker. I am speaking on 18 stages this year. I am like start speaking it into being. And that sounded so cheesy to me when I first heard people would do that. I'm like, you didn't accomplish it. Like, who the heck do you think you are writing that? And then I started doing it. I'm like, this stuff works, right?
Yeah, it does. And look at you. You did 18 last year. I was like, what? Like, so freaking proud of you. And you just took it and ran.
And it's so important, but I also don't be afraid. I think so many of us are afraid to ask for that help. Is tell people, like people don't know, like whatever aspiration you have right now, whether it's speaking or it's something else of you're listening to this podcast of something you want to do. If you're selling jewelry, you got to tell people you're selling jewelry, right? Exactly. And have a goal, have a smart goal associated with it. How much are you going to sell? Where are you going to sell it? When do you want to have those deadlines? And put some deadlines. Deadlines are made to be broken sometimes, right? Like I was I am doing my TEDx in 2022. Guess what? It didn't happen until April of 2023. But I didn't stop believing in the goal. I just
didn't give up.
The finish line a little.
Exactly. Well, I totally love that. And it is whatever, ask for help, be real. And sometimes I've been trying, like for the podcast coming out or support, I try to be very clear on the help I'm asking for specifically. And then also, how can I help support you? When I'm asking for something, I want to help also support the people I'm asking too. So saying what value, do you have something going on? I can shout out that kind of stuff too.
I love that. And I will tell you that I never, ever, ever end a networking event, whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone, with saying, usually I start this way, is how can I best serve you? Like,
yes.
Tell me exactly how I can best serve you. Like, what area? And then if they say, hey, anyone that, that works. And I'm like, okay, be more specific. Give me an industry, right? Like, so the more specific you can be with people, it really helps people hone in. Like, hey, I am looking for, like, for my wellness business, I'm looking for gym owners, people aligned with health and wellness, and people looking to grow their income, right? Like, who do you know? Yes. And if I just said, hey, anyone that is worried about their health, you could probably come up with like 3,000 people, but it's like, is it the right person? So try to be really specific with what your ask is, and make sure you always serve before you ask. I always say that.
I totally agree. What value can I offer you? I love that. All right, girl, I know you have
I would love to give you a freebie to put in this episode.
Oh, please.
I have a new mini course on meaningful connections that's coming out in 2025, but I would love to offer anyone that's listening to this to give you the link and offer that as a freebie. And it's all about how we can make better connections and how we can make sure we're using something called the ABC, which is always be curious. How can we really be curious with people and lead to better, more meaningful conversations that eventually will turn to sales? And sales does not have to be an ugly word we sell every day, right? Let's just keep it real and be like, hey, listen, whether we're asking where we're going for dinner, or we're trying to convince our kids to empty the dishwasher, or we're looking for the $10,000 speaking gig.
Yes, I love that. Send me that. Heck yes. Everybody listening, I will put that in the show notes. That's amazing. Thank you. So I know you have to get to another meeting, so I am trying to keep to this timeline. So can you, how can we support you, and how can listeners find out more about you? Because you have, tell us about everything, and I will put all of that. I will link all your stuff, the podcast, everything in the show notes as well, and the freebie. But where can we find out more about you and support you?
Perfect. Well, first and foremost, I want to know how I can support you. So if you reach out to me, let me know that. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. Those are really the three platforms that I'm on most. My website that will be in the show notes, but it's www.ericarothenberger.com, and you can find out pretty much everything about me beside what I ate for dinner last night. And I'm an open book, right? I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to support you. I'd love to get to know you better. And like I say, at the end of the day, I end my keynote with, we need to be the light. We can't leave that message in that room. We have to go out and be the light for other people. So if I can leave your guests with anything, it's how can you be that light every day? How can you get be that light for someone else that needs you right now? How can you become 1% better so you can serve, your family and your friends and your clients that much better with that little growth each day?
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And also her podcast is Grit, Grace, and Glitz. So check it out. Like I said, her energy is off the charts, and she just offers so much value. So please go check that out as well.
And the other thing, Chelsea, is we're gonna be hopefully together in October of 2025. So be on the lookout, because I got something up my sleeve that's coming that I'm really excited for, and would love to invite your guests to.
Yes, and you guys follow her. But she has a lot of. I know one thing. There's more. She has coming up for like mid to late 25. So follow her so you don't miss out, for sure. I love you, girl. You're amazing. Thank you for just being so brave and honest and open and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. Love this platform.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening to another Lip Service and Lashes. Always remember, no BS, just real vibes.
Thanks for listening to Lip Service and Lashes with Chelsea Husum. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Chelsea and her life as a hot mess mompreneur, head over to chelseahusum.com. And be sure to follow her on all social platforms. Thanks for listening, and just remember, no BS, just real vibes.